Nowadays, when people hear of the javelin, they think of track and field sport that looks like someone is trying to throw a spear as far as they can. However, what most people don't think of is where the sport originally came from. Before the javelin became a sport for people around the world to compete in, it started off as a method of hunting. It originated when the people used a spear to hunt from a reasonable distance so that they wouldn't scare their prey away. The Greek principle for the javelin was very simple. It was first introduced to the sports world as a part of the pentathlon in the ancient Greek Olympics. The way the competition was run was that the various competitors would take turns throwing a spear as far as they possibly could. At the end, whoever threw the spear, also called the javelin the farthest, was the winner of this event. The winners of this competition were normally given an olive wreath and a piece from the cow that was sacrificed in honor of Hera. Now about what makes up a javelin. Originally, when the spear was used, it was made of a wooden shaft and a light metal tip. However, nowadays people add a rope grip on the shaft for better control of their throw. The rope is usually wrapped tightly around the metal shaft and towards the front end of the javelin so that the javelin can be properly balanced when held horizontally. The competitions started in Olympia back in 776 BC. It was known as the pentathlon, and it consisted of 5 athletic events, one of which was the javelin. Then the modern version of the Olympics as we know it started in 1896. However, this modern version had 43 different events, one of which was still the javelin. In the beginning of the sport, it was mainly a male-dominated sport. However, in 1920, women were allowed to participate in this event with a slightly less weighted and shorter javelin. The first female champion of the United States was Mildred Didrikson, 143 feet. Another important part of the javelin event is the sector in which the distance is measured. The sector covers an angle of 28.96 degrees, extending outwards from the arc at the end of the runway. The throw would only be measured if the tip of the javelin lands within the sector as well as the tip hits the ground first before any other part of the javelin. Once the javelin lands, the official takes a measuring tape and measures how far the javelin landed from the arc of the runway. In order for a successful javelin career, the athletes need to have a good understanding of the form and the skills needed. The 3 parts to the overall throw are the grip, the run-up, and the throw itself. For the grip aspect, there are 3 different ways to hold a javelin. Each of these methods requires the athlete to hold the javelin using their fingers in a different way. The next part of the throw is the run-up. You would start by running with the javelin over your head with your elbow at your neckline. At the beginning, you would start with your hips perpendicular to the target area, but once you get to the end of the runway, you plant the front foot and throw the javelin. The final part is the throw. One of the most important parts is to make sure that the coil is all the way back and to make sure that your hand is as high as possible and that you follow through with the javelin. In conclusion, javelin is an athletic sport that has stood the test of time. It has been around since the beginning of time. It originated from the practical use of hunting wild game in the earlier stages, and then as time passed on, humans began to use it as a form of competition to see who could throw a spear farther. Now we use the javelin as a sport that every country around the world participates in, and this competition can all be traced back to the Greek Olympic Games.